Welcome everybody. Kind of doing a little late coming in today on the Christian Marauder here. Just going to do a short little segment here. I'm a little late today, and the reason why, I haven't been feeling too well. Like I said last week, I fighting off this crud that's been going around, probably the variant. I don't have any sore throats or anything like that, and the fever is gone, all that. But I am ridiculously tired. Hold on, I gotta turn on the light so I don't bleed out too much. So just very tired. This fighting is tired. It doesn't seem like it leaves. It comes and goes. I almost did not do the show today, but it's last minute. As though I don't feel real good and I feel tired, I might as well just do something instead of sitting around doing nothing. So we got a action-packed show today. It's going to kind of shock a few people. So bear with me as we get started. I'm still a little discombobulated a little bit, but we will get going here. But before we go, I just want to give an announcement. I'll give this announcement again a little bit later, and I'm going to post this on the channels too. But here we go. I will be. I was at Daystar, and I did several recording and shows, did Ministry Live, and this show is Joni Table Talk. Some of you may recognize Joni Table Talk if you are a fan or you like Joni Table Talk or you don't never seen the show. Get the Daystar app or whatever, plug it in, go to Roku, plug it in. All you need to do is put your email address in, and you can watch the show. Monday, August 8th, beginning at 6 a.m. Central Time, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and again, 1 a.m. Central Time zone. Joni will be airing the program, A Land Unknown, with author, speaker, B.W. Melvin. That's me. So I got the word out that they've done editing the program, to do all this stuff that we have to do on live shows and recording shows for the folks there at Joni Table Talk. And it was a great time. It was fantastic to meet all the ladies on the table, on Table Talk. It was quite the experience. I really appreciate it. Nice being around Christian sisters in the Lord who love the Lord, who are doing everything they can to serve the Lord. And just amazing group of people there. Very impressed with Daystar. Very impressed with how they do things. Some people probably don't like Daystar, but it's one of the better ones. It's the number 2 Christian station in around. So again, I'll put that on here so you can see it. Run this at the end as well. Joni Table Talk there, August 8th. I'm using Central Time because that's what they gave me, and that's Central Time. 6 a.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Central, and 1 a.m. Central Time. Plus, you can watch on demand anytime you want after August 8th. Just go to Joni Table Talk. So anyway, that's kind of quite the experience. So today we're going to talk about a subject. I'm just going to jump in because I don't have much energy at the moment, but we're going to jump in because right now I'm going to talk about quiet wars. Because folks, we really, do you really know what's going on today in this world? Do you really understand? Why are you seeing what you're seeing? Is there any place in the world that you can lay out the plan for us to actually see what is going on? And that's what we're going to talk about today. With that, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you a pamphlet that's on public domain. You can download it for free. You can read it online on public domain. And again, I am using the copyright disclaimer, Section 107 Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use. And I'm doing this to educate you as well as news reporting so you may understand what the world is going on. So this pamphlet that I'm going to show you on public domain here, I'm going to bring it up. It is called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. And there you can see on your screen some links. And when I get this fixed up, I'll put the links down into the description page for you. So, this is a controversial document. It was found in the late 70s and came out, and it's kind of controversial. Some people do not know if this is a thing for some fiction book or whatever, or is this a real deal document put out by a certain particular group. You can read up there. And the document was dated 1979, was found on July 7th, 1986 on an IBM computer, and it's been purchased with surplus sale. In other words, somebody bought this thing and they found this document on the copy machine. And so someone left it there either accidentally, we don't know. But I do know that this document has been used in based some movies on and stuff like that. But anyway, we're going to see the legitimacy of it right now. We're going to look at this pamphlet. I'm going to read it to you, then comment, read it, so you might understand what's going on. So with that, let's go to this section, page 4. It says, welcome aboard. The publication marks the 25th anniversary of the Third World War, called the Quiet War, being conducted using subjective biological warfare fought with silent weapons. This book contains an introductory description of the war, strategies, and its weaponry. Okay. Like I said, a lot of spy novels and stuff, and people have used the template here to make movies out of. Okay, just you can take this with a grain of salt. Okay, I just want you to look at it, read it yourself, and it says, and find out if this is really on the up and up. It says, security. It is patently impossible to discuss social engineering or the automation of society, i.e. engineering of social automation systems, silent weapons, on a national or worldwide scale without employing extensive objectives of social control and destruction of human life, slavery, and genocide. This manual is in itself an analog declaration of intent. Such writing must be secured from public scrutiny. Otherwise, it might be recognized as a technically formal declaration of domestic war. Furthermore, whether any person or group of persons are in a position of great power without full knowledge and consent of the public, so what they're talking about is economic conquest. And we'll talk about this today. And it goes down here in this the bottom 2 paragraphs that I have highlighted. Solution of today's problems require an approach which is ruthlessly candid, with no agonizing over religious, moral, or cultural values. You have qualified for this project because of your ability to look at human society with a cold objectivity and yet analyze and discuss your observations and conclusions with others in similar intellectual capacities without the loss of discretion of our humility. Such virtues are exercised in your own best interest. Do not deviate from them. So this giving instructions on this subject. Kind of amazing thing. There's a video that came out, and I knew about this, and from the WEF, and its founder was discussing how China played a crucial role back in the 70s for formation and fomenting and creating what has now become the WEF, United Nations World Economic Forum. They have actually, he said it, China helped it. So just think about all this stuff. So you might understand why you're seeing shortages, why you're seeing social breakdown. You can't wrap your head around it. It makes no sense what is going on. And recently, and not too long ago, I think it was the 2022 Birmingham Games over in Birmingham, England, video came out of really occultic stuff going on, and I hope to do a video on that sometime. It is about Baal worship and open, and even the announcers the performers are playing on a stage with what looks like the Tower of Babel, in the background. Well, they actually call it that in the video, the Tower of Babel. And then they have a woman riding on a beast, a big bull. And the lighting is purple and scarlet, so you can kind of imagine. And then they show this worship people bowing down to it. They play this song, and I will get into that more. I wasn't prepared to get into that one today, but I'll show segments of the video when I can under copyright stuff in another date. But that has come out as well. And so I'm talking about breaking walls down, breaking barriers, destroying the old order, building back better, building a new world after you destroy everything and eradicate everything. Because I'm talking about cosmic war here. This is cosmic war going hot, and we're seeing it right now. So in this document, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, it talks a lot about that. So let's go to the next page here. And it says political introduction. In 1954, it was well recognized by those in positions of authority that it was only a matter of time, only a few decades, before the general public would be able to grasp and upset the cradle of power. For the very elements of the new silent weapon technology were as accessible for public utopia as they were for providing a private utopia. The issue of primary concern, that of dominance, revolved around the subject of energy sciences. Okay, I'll talk about this document here. This document here talks about energy sciences, and it goes through all this thing about electricity and science and so forth, etc. But what is it really talking about? So go back to the document. Energy sciences. It says here, energy section, energy is recognized as the key to all activity on Earth. Natural science is the study of sources of control of natural energy. Social science, theoretically expressed as economics, is the study of source and control of social energy. Both are bookkeeping systems, mathematics. Therefore, mathematics is the primary energy science, so forth, etc. I want to skip over to you understand what they're talking about. This is page 9. Is Mr. Rothschild's energy discovery. What Mr. Rothschild had discovered was the basic principles of power, influence, and control over people as applied to economics. That principle is when you assume the appearance of power, people will give it to you. So what the energy science is using economics to acquire power. Rothschilds did that, playing both sides. They did in the Napoleon War, and he brought England under direct control, and France as well under their direct control. So you have a chaos factor and a stability factor, and so you play these two together. It's the Ombrius symbol of a snake eating its own tail. It's the order out of chaos thing. It is the yin-yang thing. And the idea is to make the world gray and utopic. We'll see this in this document. So I'll go back to this here. Let's look at it. Mr. Rothschild had discovered that currency or deposits, loan accounts, had required appearance of power that could be used to induce people, inductance with people corresponding to a magnetic field, into surrendering their real wealth in exchange for a promise of greater wealth. Instead of real compensation, they would put up real collateral in exchange for loan of promissory notes. Mr. Rothschild found that he could issue more notes than he had backing for, so long as he had someone's stock of gold as a persuader to show his customers. Mr. Rothschild loaned his promissory notes to individuals and to governments. These would create overconfidence. He would make a money scarce, tighten control of the system, collect the collateral through the obligation of contracts. The cycle was then repeated. These pressures would be used to ignite a war, and then he would control the availability of currency to determine who would win the war. That government which agreed to give him control of its economic system got his support. Okay. So what is all I talking about? What is this weapon talking about? It's an economic war. You have a time of plenty, and then you create a crisis any type of crisis here in order to inflate the currency, in order to gain control of that currency. Mr. Rothschild said that I will give you promissory notes, and inflation would increase. And in order to get rid of inflation, then he would own the government of a country. Okay, that's basically. Have you seen any inflation lately? I don't know if you have noticed that, but we sure have seen some. And it says collection of debts was guaranteed by economic aid to the enemy of the debtor. The profit derived from the economic methodology made Mr. Rothschild all the more able to expand his wealth. He found that public greed would allow currency to be printed, and so forth, etc. And so the idea here was to control the economy. And here's the idea. You get a group of business people and major corporations and system. Like I said last week, they had 40 back in 2019 or whatever it was, they had 40% of the banking industry in on this. So what you do is you want to teach the public how to think and how to act like good little serfs, because this is about dominance and control of everything, the entire world. This is what this is about. It goes way back to the time of Nimrod, back to the days of Genesis chapter 6. Hopefully I can talk about that next week, and you'll be amazed at some of that stuff. But right now, I just want to stay on this topic. So basically, you gain control of a society, subvert their common laws, their constitution, anything that's guarantee a citizen's right. You bypass that through use of corporations. Have you seen any of that lately? Okay, what's their game here? So let's just find out what the game plan is here. And see if you're seeing some of the stuff. Here's a descriptive introduction of silent weapons. Everything that is expected from the ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon by its creators, but only in its own manner of functioning. Okay, so what's this going to talk about here? We're going to find out that these silent weapons are economic weapons, they're psychological weapons, they're various types of inducements to take dominance and control of the entire world. Okay, and so these players like Rothschilds and stuff got tired of blowing up something, destroying somebody's economy, and having to rebuild factories. Let's just do it without doing that. We'll create this economic system in which they gain control of everything. Okay, and they call themselves the elites. Okay, in this document. So let's go talk about silent weapons, because they get tired of blowing things up. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, everything expected from an ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon. Okay, it shoots situations instead of bullets, propelled by data processing instead of chemical reaction explosions. Okay, everything is expected from an ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon by its creators, but only in its own manner of functioning. It shoots situations. In other words, what I'm talking about here, it shoots a situation. It creates a crisis. So you have one crisis after another. So it shoots situations. Instead of bullets, that's what it does. It gives you situations. Propelled by data processing instead of chemical explosions. Originating from bits of data instead of grains of gunpowder. From a computer instead of a gun. Operated by a computer programmer instead of a marksman. Under the orders of a banking magnate instead of a military general. So instead of using all these explosive weapons, just look at some of these things again here. You collect bits of data instead of gunpowder. So you have over in the WEF, the World Government Summit, and other places, they're talking about Mr. Harari, Noah Harari, that's his name. Yuval Noah Harari, talking about being able to hack into the human mind. hack human beings. You're just an animal. You can be hacked. They want to hack into you. The WEF in their writings want to put the Internet of all things in your body. They want to collect mass amounts of data on each human being on the planet. And it's not a good thing. They're going to pass it off as a great thing. Go into a store, you don't have to pay a checker, you walk out. You're going to have robotics controlling everything, making all your products. What are you going to do with the people? They're not going to tell you that yet. I'll show you what they're going to do with the people. Okay, and so we're going to look at this again. Instead of under the orders of a banking magnate instead of a military general. In other words, they're talking about using major corporations and getting corporates in debt, forming a conglomeration of an economic form to control the world. That's what we're talking about. This was 1979. This was supposedly written, came out in 1986. When you think they're there, and who was in existence back then, it was the WEF. Okay, here's what these weapons do. Right here in the middle paragraph. It makes no obvious explosion noise, causes no obvious physical or mental injuries, and does not obviously interfere with anyone's daily social life. Yet it makes an unmistakable noise, causes unmistakable physical and mental damage, and unmistakably interferes with daily social life. Unmistakable to a trained observer, one who knows what to look for. The public cannot comprehend this weapon and therefore cannot believe that they are being attacked and subdued by a weapon. The public might instinctively feel that something is wrong, but that is because of the technical nature of the silent weapon. They cannot express their feeling in a rational way or handle the problem with intelligence. Therefore, they do not know how to cry for help and do not know how to associate with others to defend themselves against it. So I'm going to go to the next page. When a silent weapon is applied, gradually the public adjusts, adapts to its presence, and learns to tolerate its encroachment upon their lives until the pressure, psychological via economic, becomes too great and they crack up. Therefore, the silent weapon is a type of biological warfare. It attacks the vitality, opinions, and mobility of individuals of a society by knowing, understanding, manipulating, attacking their sources of natural and social energy and their physical, mental, and emotional strengths and weakness. How you like them apples, as they say here, in this part of the country. So what that means is that you're going to, you're not going to know what's hitting you, but you know that there's something wrong, and you can sense the entire breakdown of everything. And all of a sudden it is encroachment on their lives until the pressure becomes too great and they crack up. Therefore, the silent weapon is a type of biological warfare that attacks the vitality, the opinions, the vitality, your livelihood, your opinions will be silenced, okay? You'll have no rights, no free speech, so forth, etc. Your whole world's turning upside down, and you're trying to go, what? This can't be happening. You're cracking up, okay? That's what the purpose is, okay? And attacking the sources of natural and social energy. In other words, the WEF just put out this article about let's get rid of cars. They want to attack your mobility. Can you put two and two together? Do you happen to see any of this happening today? Okay, I'm just trying to help you understand what you're seeing so you don't crack up. That's all I'm saying. And then we're talking about how to deal with it and what to do about it. And their physical, mental, emotional strengths and weaknesses will be under attack and exploited. So your weaknesses, they want to track data to find out your weaknesses. They want to track data how to entice you and distract you. They want to know how to psychologically manipulate you to buy into the world's all going to burn up in a few years. In fact, this climate garbage they've been talking about. They have to do it, like I said, immediately without any preparation, any type of transitory thing. Even though in the United States we have clean air scrubbers, so forth, etc., that's not enough. You got to do it a different way. That's impossible to do because there's no infrastructure to handle it, support it in place. But you got to do it anyway. That's psychological pressure. And it's not going to work. It's not designed to work. They don't want it to work. They're not sincere about it. In fact, was it 20 years ago or 10 years ago, the Great Barrier Reefs were going to die around Australia. It was dying. Oh, we got to save the world. We blah, 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 so forth, etc. Guess what? They come back with hard factual science. The reef is it's actually growing. It's just a natural process. It dies and grows, and it's even bigger than what it was back then, due to normal weather conditions of weather cycles. That certain parts of the ocean heat up while other parts cool down, and then those parts that cool down heat up, and those parts that heat up cool down, and predictable cyclic patterns that get our weather to be what it is. The sun shines, it rains, it storms, and does what it does. Okay, it's a natural system. It's been like that for millennia, and you're not going to control it. And so the agenda has been proven a hoax, but they just want to push something upon people and make them fearful, and they want to get rid of all this carbon that's necessary for plants to survive, and they want to induce what they're doing. You know, you're seeing it. You're living it right now, the worldwide. Okay, that's what you're seeing. And physical, mental, emotional strengths and weaknesses. They want to track and monitor all that. So let's go to this next page, page 17. This is a very interesting paragraph, and right at the top paragraph it says, if people really cared about their fellow man, they would control their appetites, greed, and procreation, etc. Notice it says procreation. So that they would not have to operate on a credit or welfare system in which steals from the worker to satisfy the bum. Okay? Basically, the Rothschilds wanted a welfare state in order to control people, but this is a silent weapon, so people don't know what's going on. So what he's talking about, let's look again. They're talking about if they really cared about their fellow man, they would control their appetites, greed, and their procreation. And so there's too many people going on, too many worthless eaters, and there's too many people to serve, so, we got to take care of us, okay? So that's what this is about. This is about, like I said, go back and look at it again, if the people really cared about their fellow man, okay? When I read this, and after I studied Alice Bailey, this is pure Alice Bailey garbage. Alice Bailey wanted a utopic world where people would just care about the collective hive, their fellow man, in a collective neo-Marxist, fascist type of manner. And everything would be perfect and well. And you have to guide procreation. There's just too many people on the planet. And they have too many needs to satisfy. And it's not for saving anything. It's for preserving the elite, which this document verifies and actually says. And not about saving anybody, but preserving the elite class. And Alice Bailey's works, it's about the manifest hierarchy of human that enters into humanity, spiritual guys inside of humanity, like I talked about possession, where you still maintain your mental faculties, but you control governments. And it's for their peace and safety that you're doing this for. It's for their benefit, not for everybody else. It's for their benefit. That's what that's about. Okay. And so Alice Bailey talks about you're only for this group of world servers and the elite class. The rest of the people are just slaves, basically. So, this is their justification for it. So look at where the highlight place. Since most of the general public will not exercise restraint, there will only be two alternatives to reduce economic inductance of the system. Number 1, let the population bludgeon each other to death in war, which will only result in total destruction of the living earth. This sounds so New Age. This sounds so Alice Bailey. I got to stay off that rabbit trail. I mean, just let that sink in. Number 2, take control of the world by use of economic silent weapons in a form of quiet warfare to reduce the economic inductance of the world to a safe level by a process of benevolent slavery and genocide. The latter option has been taken as the obviously better option. That's number 2. Control the world using silent weapons, quiet warfare to reduce economic inductance of the world to a safe level by a process of benevolent slavery and genocide. So you go down here, and it says here, the latter option has been, okay, at this point it should be crystal clear to the reader why absolute secrecy about the silent weapons is necessary. The general public refuses to improve its own mentality and its faith in its fellow man, and has become a herd of profiteering barbarians and who, so to speak, a blight upon the face of the earth. Folks, they're talking about free market capitalism making you a barbarian. So only the control of all life on earth, including people, is the only way to make a utopia for the elite. Not so much the masses, but you deceive the masses thinking that they are creating this utopia, this new world for them. But they're actually, what does it say? The option is best to reduce to a safe level by a process of benevolent slavery and genocide. The late Georgia Guidestones that were destroyed, on their things, they want to reduce the world's population to 500 million. So, remember this little document, Program of Action. This is found on public domain by the United Nations. Is the adopted International Conference on Population Development, Cairo, 5th to 13th September 1994. And this program of action was implemented. And in this pamphlet, it has all these great ideas. And like I said in section 3.28, this is the goal of this, all about saving the planet, human rights, all the stuff they want to push on society here is consistent with Agenda 21. Its objectives are to ensure that population, environmental, and poverty eradication factors are integrated into sustainable development policies, plans, and programs. Read it again. Number A, to ensure that population eradication, environmental eradication, and poverty eradication factors are integrated into sustainable development ideas, and so forth, etc. So you have to eradicate a large segment of the population. In order to eradicate environmental problems, you have to eradicate the population. And you want to eradicate poverty, you have to eradicate the population. What can I say? Should I say any more? To create a more sustainable and equitable world. Number 2, take control of the world by use of economic silent weapons in a form of quiet warfare that reduces the economic inductance of the world to a safe level by the process of benevolent slavery and genocide. And all this, what they're doing here, is blaming you and I, the common Joe and Sue out there in the world, as the problem. Not them. They're good. They're loving. They have a world vision for the future of equity and saving everything. And we're going to make robots to control everything, so we don't need a lot of people. We can track and monitor people and can hack into their thoughts and control them and dumb them down, and they'll be useful idiots so that we can play with them. If you're savvy, if you listen to Skywatch TV or Derek Gilbert or Prophecy Watchers and a host of other shows, L.A. Marzulli and others, and I can't remember everybody's name now, but you read some of their books and you will find out that in the days of Noah, that was the same mentality of the so-called, as ancient aliens people would call it, the Space Brothers coming down to benevolently help guide humanity to make a fair, equitable world. And what it resulted in was a world of violence, people devouring each other, and a lot of death. You can read it in Josephus. He talks about it. Read it in the other non-canonical Bible books that are quoted in the Bible, non-canonical like Jasher and Enoch and Jubilees, and you'll find out, and you put it all together, they sold a bill of goods to humanity to better and to improve humanity and to control humanity by an elite class of people. Same plan, nothing has changed, and it's like a reverse technology thing. They want to reshape humanity, make humanity into a new image of a serf and slave class. For example, the Ancient Aliens people and that TV show on History Channel, Ancient Aliens, talk about, I think it was Mr. Stitchinson and others talked about how these people altered these apes or whatever on Earth and became human. They altered them so they could have slaves and make them slaves. And then the good one came in and said no to that. And then there's this big fight and this war going on. I'm just paraphrasing some of that. Hopefully I can do a video on this. But if you see as the days of Noah, you're beginning to see some of this stuff. And you have the same thing here. The world's safe level by a process of benevolence, slavery, and genocide. And it's all under this guise that people do not know how to love their fellow man, the way in the image of the world's elites. The world's elites know better how to love their fellow being. They want to put the internet of all things in your body. They want to control you, what you consume, how much you procreate. And all they need is a few worker bees to keep the robots in line. And they live high on the hog, fly on their private jets anywhere they want. Do whatever they want. They got it made in this shade. They don't need humanity. They have each other. They live in this collective utopia that they created for themselves, but not so much for you. So how do they get there? So let's look at this. This is on jumping up to page 35. This is their strategies. To do this, they want to keep the public ignorant. To get this is they want less public organization. When this was written, they did not really have any means to do this. Now they do. Everything's on the internet, social media. They'll silence you. They control the narrative. How close are we? Think about it. Maintain access to control point for feedback. Maintain access to control point for feedback. Okay. Required reaction to outputs. Okay. This is talking about prices and sales, but this is talking about the business model, but in the psychological model, this means what? Control the opposition, okay? Find out who it is and control the narrative. Use the word, misinformation, disinformation, or something like that. Just put that in there and that's how you control the opposition. Create preoccupation. How you do get that? You lower your defense. Attack the family unit. Look at number there. Control of the education of the young. Attack the family unit. Control the education of the young. Attack the family unit. Why would anybody want to attack the family unit? Because that's the stability of all society. If you control the kids, you control the population. So you want to groom them into all kinds of weird ideas and ideology from kindergarten on. Governor DeSantis put a skids on that Hummer down in Florida. Do you see any of this happening right now by chance? Give less cash and more credit and doles. How do you get there? More self-indulgence and more data collecting, okay? So you want people to get more credit in order to have them in debt so that you can control them, okay? I won't get into all the details. I think you can figure that one out. You do that by making them more self-indulgent so they can buy things. Attack the privacy of the church. To get there, destroy faith in this sort of government. Attack the privacy of the church. Destroy the family, destroy the church. Do you see that this might be more satanic and Luciferian than people really want to give credit for? Why do they want to attack the privacy of the church? Because it says, I'll explain why. In Isaiah chapter 1 there, verse 15 through 19, it talks about, it says, "Come, let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins is as scarlet, they'll be turned white as snow. If you obey, you'll eat the good of the land. If not, it's not going to be so good for you." God offers reason and choice. He reasons with you. He makes the rain fall on the just and the unjust. He lets you live your life how you wanted to live. All he asks is, let's reason together about where you're headed. I want to draw you back into the kingdom of God. I want to save your soul. Okay? And the person can reject or accept that. They don't want that form of government. That wall has to come crashing down. They do not like reason. They do not like debate, because if people, like it says in the beginning of this book, if people found out about this, they would not want it. So therefore, you can't reason with people. So the devil's side is all about top down, bottom up, absolute control of what you think, what you eat, who lives, who dies. It's total control. Communism and fascism, especially communism, the CCP, so forth, etc. That type of communism is all about that. Marxism came from the halls of Luciferianism. In fact, Karl Marx is buried in one of the big satanic cemeteries. Think about it. His daughters all died or whatever, and they dabbled in the satanic stuff. So apple don't fall far from the tree, as they say. So you have to destroy the privacy of the church. And then you destroy faith in this sort of government. So how do you destroy faith in this sort of government? Well, Alice Bailey says you get seed groups to take over the church and flip it over to a one-world religion. You get ministers in there and you train them up, and they may think they're very sincere. They may love the Lord and all that stuff, but they've been bamboozled to believe a lie, and they're out preaching wokeness, New Age movement techniques, implementing it into the church. And people get burned and hurt because they blabbed and grabbed, and all they got was a handful of thorns. And they watch their loved one dies, whatever. And so people lose faith in this Christianity. Or the church goes so woke and seeker sensitive, it loses. It's no different than the world. They take the supernatural element out of the church. They destroy spiritual gifts and say that they're not applicable today. Okay? And basically it's an affront to God. So they're refusing and rebellion, and it's not going to be so good in the world because you invite chaos into the world with that way. But if you come to Jesus Christ, get your heart right with God, come to Jesus Christ, the only way to do that, and say, Lord, save me and help me get through this. He will. He'll save you. Just cry out to him. Whoever calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. And realize that you are not as hot to trot as you think. I mean, I won't get into a salvation message yet, but I'm just saying, you got to realize we betray people, we hurt people, so forth, etc. And we need forgiving of that. We keep passing this stuff on. And the cross exposes how we make other people perform for us or dance to our tunes. We want God to dance to our tunes. When he doesn't, we have a blah, 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 blah. God can't exist. God don't do it my way, it's a highway type mentality. And you do that with people. People do that with each other, so forth, etc. They abandon, they neglect, they hurt. Some of you have been hurt by people and you have hurt people. You need forgiven of all that. You just need to come to Christ and say, oh, up to it, and say, Lord, change me, take me, I'm yours. It's very simple to become born again and avoid what's getting ready to happen on this planet. Okay, social conformity. They want to go to social conformity. Computer programming simplicity. Okay, minimize tax protest. How do you get there? Maximum economic data, minimum enforcement problems. Just keep looking at that as I talk here. Social conformity. Just like the WEF says, they want to put the Internet of all things inside of you. They want to program you. They want to get you tagged and marked. Know what you buy, what you sell, what you eat, what your interests are, who you listen to on the radio, TV, and they want to do that. They want to social conformity. You conform or you'll be canceled. Are you seeing that now? Minimize tax protest. How do you do that? Maximum economic data. In other words, you collect the maximum data you can on people with minimum enforcement problems. Here in the United States, they got a bill, thanks to Joe Manchin and the Communist Democratic Party here in the United States. They're going to pass a bill. They're going to hire 87,000 more tax collectors. Minimum enforcement. They can break the law with impunity. They're not going after rich people. They're going after you and me, folks. You see the plan. It's laid out. It's right there. You're watching it unfold before your very eyes. Okay, stabilize the consent. To get there, simplicity coefficients. Okay, I won't get into a lot of that, but you want to stabilize consent. In other words, what you're doing is you're looking at coefficients. If these negative factors, how do you turn the negatives into positives to agree with them? That's what it is. And you're seeing that play out with cancel culture, with the mob rule. One side can destroy, burn, and maim, and mutilate and destroy entire cities, and that's okay. You can release criminals on the street, that's okay. But take the citizens' right to bear arms away at all costs. That's what they're looking at, the coefficients. How do you get there? How in the world do you get there to stabilize the consent of the governed? Okay, that's what we're talking about. Tighten control of variables. Simpler computer input data, greater predictability. Establish boundary conditions. Get there, problem, simplicity solutions of differential and difference equations. Okay. Basically, control of variables, establish boundary conditions. It all involves computer tracking, monitoring, and data, and relying on these complex computer programs and to scenario plan for you to figure out if X does this, Z will do this, so this will equal this outcome. So we mathematically figure out the outcome because people are just biological entities. They have no soul, no spirit. They just exist, and they're just animals to be tracked, monitored, and tagged, so we can control them in a predictable way. If we do this, apply these, the people will do that. That's what that's talking about. Proper timing. It will come with less data shift and blurring. In other words, proper timing when this plan will be implemented, will be less data shift and blurring. In other words, in 2018 and currently, they're talking about these new mega supercomputers that will produce that. The problem they're having is that the supercomputers seem to be developing their own intelligence, so they have to shut them off. Just think about it. Just let your mind wander on that. Maximize control. How do you do that? Minimize resistance to control. In other words, every one of these things above the last, and maximize control is minimize resistance to control is less public organization, control everything, lower defense, control the young, indoctrinating them, more self-indulgence, destroy faith in the church, put computer into the humanity, okay, get people in debt to control them. Then you want to collapse the currency, destroy the faith of the American people in each other. How do you do that? You can collapse the currency so American people can't trust each other. Think real hard. Why are Democrat-controlled cities hellholes turning into hellholes? Why is chaos running amok? They want to collapse the currency. They want to make people go ballistic. So you can't trust anybody. So you run to them, the elites, who come to save the day. They have us all mathematically figured out. If they do these right things and right timing, then we'll do it. This is so Alice Bailey-like. This is so New Age that I'm blown away by this. Okay. This is how they're going to get there. This is the next page from that page. Let's see, what page was that? I'm on page 35. So we're going to go down to page 36. How do you get there? Diversion, the primary strategy. Experience has prevent that the simplest method of securing a silent weapon and gaining control of the public is to keep the public undisciplined, ignorant of the basic system of principles on one hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized, distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand. This is achieved by 1. Disengaging their minds, sabotaging their mental activities, providing a low-quality program of public education in mathematics, logic, systems design, economics, and discouraging technical creativity. Are our schools, public schools, anything like they were back when I was growing up? Heck no. They're dumbing down kids. Why? You got it. They just admitted to it. To gain control of the public, you got to keep them away from logic systems, thinking critically. You got to keep them away from their own creativity. Have them paint useless images with finger painting during class. And give them feel-good things, teach them critical race theory, anything to destroy their faith in each other. So they're confused and ripe for the picking. So you destroy. Okay? Control of the public. Look at the next part. Next bullet point. It says engaging their emotions, increasing their self-indulgence and their indulgence in emotional and physical activities by unrelenting emotional affrontations and attacks. Mental and emotional rape by way of constant barrage of sex, violence, and wars in the media, especially TV and the newspapers. Giving them what they desire in excess, junk food for thought, depriving them of what they really need. So you deprive them of critical thinking and you get them hooked on emotions and you control them. That's what this is saying. You're seeing any of that. We used to have, in these old movies, you say that public censors were there. They weren't censoring. They were trying to keep at bay this stuff, and they were trying to push back against it. And you would never see a Victoria's Secret commercial on TV in the 1950s. You would never see some of the shows they have now and what they show, and people have been dumbed down and anesthetized to it. You would not have the lyrics to some of the songs and some of the garbage going on. You would not have the high suicide rate you're having now with young people. Remember, part of it is eradicate population. So they're doing a silent weapon. They're putting these mathematical, they call electrical energy things into play, bioelectrical energy to manipulate people to act certain ways to do their bidding. They want to give you junk food for thought, depriving them what they really need. We need real news. We need real news reporting, real investigative reporting, and actual justice. You deprive them of that. Are you being deprived of that lately? The last one here, rewriting history and law and subjecting it to the deviant creation, thus being able to shift their thinking from personal needs to highly fabricated outside priorities. Rewriting history, the 1619 Project. Critical race theory, rewriting history. Are you seeing any of that? What about if you're a certain color of your skin, you're irredeemable? Rewriting history. Look at this again. Rewriting history and law and subjecting the public to deviant creation. Rewriting history and law. The book of Daniel talks about the Antichrist changing time, seasons, and law. Do you see that these elites are preparing the way for that? Rewriting history and law, subjecting the public to deviant creation. Guess what? Let's get little kids and force them to watch Billy Bob Joe dressed as a woman, but you can't define what a woman is, but they can dress like a woman, but you can't define what a woman is. And you got to subject them to this lifestyle and deviant behavior, as the only way of androgyny is the superior way. Subjecting the public to deviant creations, thus being able to shift their thinking for personal needs, a highly fabricated outside priority. So when you have a person you're interviewed for the Supreme Court justice, how do you define a woman? Well, I can't say what defines a woman. Well, you are a woman. I can't define that. But you can define it when it comes to abortion, but you can't define it. Now, I hope you're getting the idea of what they're doing. These preclude their interest in and discovery of silent weapons of social automation and technology. They want to keep you from talking about this stuff. But now it's the cat's out of the bag. People have talked about this. It has been exposed, and they themselves are openly broadcasting it on their websites, news journals, and so forth, etc. Okay. I'll go to the next page. The general rule is that there is a profit in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, the best approach is to create problems and then offer solution. The old saying, never let a crisis go to waste, comes from this ideology right here. You profit in confusion. Who profits? The elites profit. They make a buck. Really, they really do. Off of inflation, all this stuff. I don't have time to get into that. Okay, this is how they're going to do it. Media. Keep the adult public attention diverted away from the real social issues and captivate it to matters of no real importance. That's why you don't see any real hard-hitting journalistic news anymore. They control it. If you don't obey, we're going to take your money away. And so, got the ESG scores and corporations, and you have the media compliant and all of it. Have you noticed? Not all. In America, we still have a few free sources, not much anymore. I would like to know about the tornadoes and the floods and actual newsworthy stuff and tsunamis, and you're not going to hear that too much anymore. They want to divert your attention away to matters of no importance, like celebrating June a brand new way, and things like that. Schools. Keep young people ignorant of real mathematics, real economics, real law, and real history. I think the public schools are doing an excellent job of that, don't you think? How far along are we down on the roadmap? Entertainment. Keep the public entertainment below the 6th grade level. Is it? You tell me. I'm watching some old shows. And even My Favorite Martian or whatever has more intelligence to it than the modern sitcoms. I'm watching reruns of the Wild Wild West, and people have dialogue and you get all these innuendos. And you see it on even the Patty Duke show. I mean, there's more more thinking and stuff and problem solving than any sitcom I can see today. Keep the public entertainment below the 6th grade level. Work. Keep the public busy with no time to think. Back on the farm with the other animals. That's what they think about you, on the farm with other animals. Listen to Mr. Harari, Noah Harari, how utter contempt he has for the lower social animals. And he was asked in an interview, what do we do with all the people since we make robots who are going to control everything? Well, we just plug them into the internet and feed them junk food. Utter contempt for the average human being and what we go through. Utter stinking contempt. Arrogance, that's what it is. Consent the primary victory. A silent weapon system operates upon data obtained. A silent weapon system operates upon data obtained from a docile public by legal, but not always lawful force. Much information is made available to silent weapon systems programmers through the International Revenue Service. And Biden is going to be hiring 87,000 more IRS agents. What could possibly go wrong when they hold such utter contempt for you and me? It operates upon data attained from a docile public by legal but not always lawful force. Why are the criminals in the halls of government able to weaponize all the halls of government and use it against its citizens? But if you speak up against it, you're arrested. You're the traitor. You love your country, you're a patriot. You love God and country, you're a traitor. You're a terrorist. One system, a set of rules for them, and the other for the rest of the serfs. That's what it's talking about. This information consists of enforced delivery of well-organized data contained in federal state tax forms collected, assembled, and submitted by slave labor provided by taxpayer and employers. Furthermore, the number of such forms submitted to the IRS is a useful indicator of public consent and importance factor in strategic decision-making. Other data sources given in short list inputs. I won't bother reading all of this stuff, but what I just said, and we're seeing it play out, it's going to be if the miracle doesn't happen and the people actually vote against and keep this law from coming to pass, we won't have 87,000 IRS agents. Hope you can understand what's going on. You're too distracted, you can't figure it out. Okay. Okay, wait a minute. I want to show you this on this page. Okay, I can't remember what page this is, but it talks about the second paragraph. Each class is guaranteeing its own level of income, controls the class immediately below it, hence preserves the class structure, provides stability and security, but also government from the top. This is about top-down control. In other words, you have different classes of people. You put people in classes, racial categories, whatever, to control the masses. That's all it's talking about. Seeing any of that. As time goes on, communication, education improve, lower class elements of social labor structure become knowledgeable and envious of the good things that the upper class members have. They also begin to attain knowledge of the energy systems and the ability to enforce their rise through the class structure. This threatens the sovereignty of the elite. This threatens the sovereignty of the elite. This is why they're doing this. Free markets threaten the sovereignty of the elite. The American system threatens the sovereignty of the elite. If this rise of the lower class can be postponed long enough, the elite can achieve energy dominance, and labor by consent no longer will hold a position of essential energy source. Until such energy dominance is absolutely established, the consent of the people to labor, let others handle their affairs, must be taken into consideration, since failure to do so could cause people to interfere in the final transfer of energy sources to the control of the elite. It is essential to recognize that at this time, public consent is still an essential key to the release of energy in the process of economic amplification. Therefore, consent as an energy release mechanism will now be considered. And I won't get into all the next part. But I just wanted to show that this whole thing threatens the stability of the elite. Why you see so many people in the educational system and kids supporting Marxism and socialism. They're on the threshold of preserving their elite status, and as the program of action says, the elites want to ensure that population eradication, environmental eradication, and poverty eradication are integrated in sustainable development policies. Too many worthless eaters. They know best how to run your life better than you do. Because they love you. They're looking out for your best interest. They have utter contempt for you. They don't want you to rise above and make it in your own. They don't want you to be a business person. Do you see a war on small businesses being waged? You're seeing a war on farmers. You're seeing a war waged. This is a cosmic war, folks, of grand implications. I'm going to end this video here. And it is inspired by the principalities the Fallen Watchers, hell itself is in charge of this plumber. There's going to come a time when the majority of the world's population is going to be turned over to a reprobate mind. We're seeing some of that happen now. We're in the beginning stages of this, and I hope you can see this ain't a game these people are playing, and this is real, and we're living in it right now. It explains a lot of things we're seeing and what we're going through. You can discount it, you can poo-poo it all you want, but the reality is inflation is on the rise. If this bill passes, which might, if it doesn't, hallelujah, I don't know until I re-edit this video and get it out. I don't know. But if it is what it is. And things will go south real quick because it is designed to collapse the economy to get into a world banking system in order to track, monitor everything you do. So if your little Johnny or Susie has a lemonade stand, I'm going to give you an idea what this is like, and they make $6 or $7, they want to know who gave it to those people and how much Billy and Susie owe the government. How much resources did you use? That's a waste of lemons making a lemonade stand. We could use those lemons for our martinis or whatever for the elite. How dare you? How dare you use lemons for lemonade stands and try to make $1 and teach your kids economic success and entrepreneurship and so forth, etc. How dare you? So that all ceases. You'll be so controlled, tracked, and monitored, you'll have no freedom, and they will starve you. They'll do whatever they can. This is a vile and wicked and evil system, and the Bible warns us about it. So what do? We have to prepare our hearts for it. Again, you need to know Jesus. You don't need to fear it. It's going to come. There's something called the blessed hope that's coming. We don't know when it's going to come. And you need to prepare your heart. You need to educate yourself on this. You need to develop critical thinking skills of the Western tradition, logic and thinking. This doesn't add up. This stinks. Or be able to articulate your argument. Tell your neighbors and friends, why are you seeing what you're seeing? Do you know what's really going on? This is not a conspiracy theory, is it? Some conspiracies are true. Why are the Birmingham games and all those musicians singing these songs about a one world government? Breaking down, destroying the old order, building back better this new utopia where deviant behavior is exalted. Why are you seeing this? You know something is not right. Can you explain it? You think it's just going to go away? Afraid not. Why are your kids being brainwashed in school? Think. Learn to present the argument. Part of repentance is doing something and making a stand and returning back to the Lord. And He will make everything right again. If not, it is over. Even when it's over during the tribulation period, the Lord will still be getting people saved in a remarkable way through the 144,000. I won't get into Bible prophecy right now. With that, I'm just going to go and end it and all that stuff. So anyway, for those of you who are, I'm just going to have to end this video. We'll take it up next week. We'll talk about something else. I guess I did pretty well. I don't feel real good. I really don't. I feel really tired. That fatigue stuff is hitting me again. But anyway, just know that censorship is real, folks, and you'll need to look at different platforms and stuff, like Josh Peck's Daily Renegade and so forth, etc. And consider joining that or your own. I'm looking at Subsplash or some other thing myself and getting a site up. And since I'm not going to be a 501(c), so we won't be able to take donations through it, but I could raise capital anyway of what I can before we can't in order to maintain it. So the videos and stuff you'll maintain content. You can still see content. All this is going to end someday. And you're going to live in a very bleak, austere world. And you'll find out what communism, elitism, really, Marxism, fascism, all of it really is like. And those of you who lived in abusive homes with a narcissist or a psychopath, you know exactly where we're headed. You see the gaslighting. You see everything. Gaslighting is distorting the truth so you don't believe the truth is the truth anymore. And they're gaslighting people. And they produce it by exerting power. Whoops, I'm trying to find that. Yeah. I'll go back to this and close it with this. Mr. Rothschild discovered that the basic principle of power, influence, and control over people is applied to economics. The principle is when you assume the appearance of power, people will give it to you. So when people in power gaslight you and say that you can't define what a woman is, and you start to believe it, you assume it because they're in a position of power, but they're just punks. They're punks. They're stupid. They're ignoramuses. Okay? And you don't have to buy into their lie and say, I don't buy that lie. You're a bigot. No, I'm not. You are making a presupposition based on the color of my skin. That is racism. You're the racist. You can throw it right back in their face with force. Maybe it's a little easier for me because I was trained in law enforcement. I worked with sex offenders, and that's how we did it. So they don't control dominance over the team and gaslight and control people on the team. Very in your face, confrontational. You do it in a nice way. You don't threaten them, but you throw it back in them. And they'll say, I don't like your tone. I don't like your tone either. You're threatening my livelihood. You're threatening everything about me. And I will die defending my country. Whatever it takes, folks. Do an act of repentance. Return to the Lord. Forsake any false doctrine, dogmas. Do some research. If you turn away from wokeism, get away from this stuff in the church. Walk away from it. Admit to God that you fell for it and ask Him to help you change. All kinds of things you can do. Well, anyway, I'm going to end this. So you guys be blessed. And let me go here on the chat. I would love to do some questioning and Q&A, but I'm really getting too tired. I probably shouldn't even have done this video today, but I wanted to get this out because I just did not want to let this slide. I had it prepared. It took me a little longer to get online because I just wasn't feeling real good. I thought, well, I should cancel or not. But anyway, you guys be blessed. I just cannot do any questions, any reading of the chat. I'm just petering out. I'm getting too tired. Just keep me in prayer. I'm at the tail end of this stuff. Hope it ends soon because I really get tired of it. Back in December 21, I had the big stuff that you can't say online. This is the headache and the fatigue was the only thing similar that I had of this. Is very mild, but this is 2 weeks of this. I just hope it just goes away. Every other symptom is gone except for the tiredness. That might take a while, but you guys be blessed. You be blessed in Jesus' name.